Welcome to the Long Walk Out, presented by New Zealand Park Hunting. This is our very first podcast, and man, we have an absolute banger for you. This is honestly going to be hard to beat with anything coming up, but the story's got to be told, and you know, we're just going to keep on cranking them out because hunting stories, yeah, they're the business. And on this episode, I got a special guest. This is somebody that I've taken hunting for a number of years, and we've grown and developed and helped each other out over that period up till right into the present day. And you know, he's somebody that if I had to choose somebody, he'd be the first pick, and somebody that is capable of my craziness, going anywhere I'd go, and just as crazy about hunting and stags as well. So I'd like to introduce my brother Codi.
Hello, how's it going?
I'd like to maybe just say a little bit about your hunting background and where you're from.
Yes, I was more into the pigs, the pig hunting with Scott, the other brother, throughout my life, and Sean and others, lots of others. And yeah, was always sort of interested as to why you were so mad keen on the roar and stags and all that, when I was like, oh, pig hunting's where it's at, and it still is. I love pig hunting, but yeah, then finally I decided, right, I've got to get in there and go after these stags, and went with you, and just addicted. Love it, absolutely love it. So
Chasing Seeker first day?
Yes.
On our first couple of years, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, went after the Seeker, and then I thought, I got to give the Reds a crack as well, and seen obviously lots of YouTube videos and stuff, and was, yeah, like I've got to get into that. So we went after them.
Awesome. Yeah, so this trip was a long time in the making. We wanted to do a trip that was really going to test us and was going to take a bit to get back into. So some real typical, you know, backcountry bush in the Whirinaki. And I'd been in there once, I think it was just once before. So I had an understanding of the area, and I said to Cody, I know where we can go. There's not going to be anyone around, and if we get the timing right, we'll get those stags roaring. So the plan started to hatch out of that, and we had a location. It was really just then, were the stags going to be firing when we're in there? Because you can do all the planning you like, and we only had a 3-day window to catch them, but we were going to do everything we could to get onto a stag. So I picked up Cody on, heck, it would have been, there was a Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, Friday afternoon after
Friday
work.
afternoon, yeah. So we both did our normal work week, and then we loaded up into the truck and headed south for the journey. So we knew at this stage that we'd be walking in the dark, and also we knew that the weather was looking pretty rubbish.
Yeah, and
but it wasn't going to stop us. So, but what we did know is it looked like it was going to get better kind of as the trip went on. So thought, well, we don't mind getting a bit wet on the walk in, and we don't mind walking in on the dark. So the hut that we were going to in the Whirinaki was about a 3-hour walk normally. Sort of if you're, you know, not running to the hut, it'd take you about 3 hours fully loaded. So yeah, we got the jackets on, we loaded the packs on, and decided that it was not going to take us 3 hours. And I think we pretty much jogged the whole way in, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Almost, especially the downhill. Cody's someone that's really challenges me physically to keep up with. So yeah, we set a pretty blistering pace, and we knew the sooner we get into the hut, the sooner we could get into bed and be up the next morning, which would be the big walk in to our spot X. So yeah, that was kind of the plan going in. Cody and I hunt together. We don't generally separate. In fact, I don't know that we ever have. So our hunting plan is normally to have one person roaring once we get close enough, and then the other person will sneak in and try and take the stag, or if the stag's coming to us, we'll split into a safe position so we can watch 2 incoming areas for the stag to approach us, which we've had success in that way as well. So yeah, 7 o'clock to the hut.
Yeah, so I
Friday
thought, was
night.
it an hour 25 or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might have cut it in half.
Yeah.
Our walk in, or our run in, shall I say?
Mm-hmm.
And Cody, you spent a while getting that fire going from memory.
Yeah, there's a couple of beautiful spates left in the hut, so they went down an absolute treat, I can tell you, because I wasn't carrying them in, but some good people had left them in there.
Looking after you.
That was a nice treat.
Yeah, and it was well worth it for the walk in.
Yeah.
So
Because it was not just raining, it was properly like it was storm bad. Yeah.
like it wasn't great. Like it doesn't give you a good feeling walking in pouring rain, not really knowing was it actually going to get better. So we woke up the next morning pretty early.
Yeah,
Probably
it was. Yeah, I can't actually
before
remember.
light.
Yeah, much. We were walking with head torches for the first
Yeah.
hour. So
Yeah. So
Must be
yeah, we
5:30.
wanted to we knew that it was probably at least a 6-hour walk in, again fully loaded, and we had to rise up to 1,000 meters. We had to drop back down into a creek and then rise back up to 1,000 meters.
yeah. So it was all of that 6 hours. I think
Yeah.
it was sort of 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon by the time we.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
that was it. We started the walk, and from memory we didn't hear a lot initially.
No.
Like there wasn't much happening. It was still pretty wet. Like I don't think it was necessarily raining. So I can remember taking my
Yeah.
jacket off.
Yeah.
Like okay, that's getting too hot. So, but the canopy was just saturated. So it was pretty miserable. And you know when the stags aren't roaring, you're just sort of plodding along. And we weren't really wanting to muck around. If we heard something, we would have had a wee look at that if we could have. But we just wanted to get to our camp spot, which we didn't fully know where yet. I had a bit of an idea. But yeah, we'll get to that because that's a bit of a funny story as we get closer to needing our camp spot. So yeah, we go off track. Most of our hunting spots where we actually want to hunt are off track. So we might use the track to access a certain part, and then we head off and dive into the bush deep somewhere and set up a tent. So yeah, up the hill we went, which is a pretty grueling uphill, isn't it, Cody?
Yeah. Yes.
It'll test most people. Like it's it's pretty tough. So, but we made it to the top, and again from memory, maybe heard a couple of distant roars, but
Yeah. As we got closer to,
getting to that top, we
Yeah.
might have got a bit of elevation. We might have started hearing a couple
Yeah.
starting to go. But yeah, once we got to the top, it meant that we had to go back down again. So down we went, and into the little creek, and that's where I expected the sign to start picking up, which is where it did. There's a nice wallow in that creek at the bottom there, and I'd run into a stag actually not far up off that wallow on a previous trip, so I was hoping maybe we'd do the same.
Yeah.
But what happened?
Yeah. That
Just silence, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was nothing.
Yeah. So up the hill we went again. But again, it didn't take long. We started getting a bit of elevation, and we started to hear some stags, right?
And that's where it started.
Yeah. So that got the excitement levels up pretty high, you know. But nothing sort of close to it, nothing that we could go, oh, let's go and have a go at him, you know. They're a fair way off. So, yeah, we just knew, right, we need to get to an elevated site, close to water if we could, but just having an area for the tent was the most important thing. So, we're cracking on, well after lunchtime at this stage, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was getting to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actively looking for a tent site at this stage.
And that was not easy.
we hadn't made the top of the ridge, but we didn't necessarily want to do that. But we just come up blank. There was just nothing.
Yeah.
Every part that we found was either too steep or trees in the way, or so eventually we dropped down this little spur off to that right hand side, remember?
Yeah.
And we thought, there'll be something, a little flat spot, and we found something that we thought, maybe it could work. And looking at Cody at that point, I think he was done.
I needed food.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
We hadn't eaten it.
Physically all right. That walk in was, for you and I, it was manageable, but it was. We probably should have stopped a little bit earlier and had some lunch, and then because by then it was like, right, I don't care if I'm sleeping in a tree right now. I'll just let's stop.
So I think I might have left you at that point and said, look, I'm going to see if I can find somewhere a bit better, you know. So I just kind of sidled across the face, jumped up onto the little ridge, or the top of the ridge actually, as it turned out, and found us a little spot there. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but...
No, we had to sort of make do with what we had, but we made it pretty good.
It was flat, and like if we had 2 tents, I think we would have been screwed.
There wasn't 2 tents going in anywhere.
There was only room for one.
Yeah.
But we were wet, we were tired, but we did start hearing the stags roaring.
Yes, we did.
So that certainly picked up our moods. We got some food into us. And got the old camp set up, and down the hill we went.
Back towards where we had sort of already just come from, eh?
Down that spur where we were going to try and camp on. We popped down there because that's where we heard probably 2 or 3 different stags. Still pretty wet, and it was blowing. Not great conditions. Like, it didn't feel really good, but it felt like we were just getting closer and closer to where these stags were roaring. But it was weird because we never roared at all from memory.
No,
not for a while at least.
And they were doing the roaring for us. So,
So we just thought, we'll just get down to them, But the closer we got, it almost seemed like we got to a point that the sound didn't sound any closer.
Nah.
Hey, like we'd get closer and then
it was weird.
It'd be like
it was moving away, and
they would have had no idea where we're coming or where we were or anything. So I don't know. We just kept going and going. We got down into another little creek.
And that's where we saw. Or did you stay back to roar, or did you stay back just so I would? I went into the
we climbed up a little bit off the creek to get out of that creek noise, and then I think I gave off a roar at that point.
So I left you because by then we were sort of within 100 metres of them, eh?
We thought, so we finally sort of caught up with them, or the first one anyway. But what happened on that?
So I went down, and I was only 100 metres away from you, so we could have talked to each other, but we obviously weren't. Went down and sneaking in, and I had never been after the reds before, so I didn't really know what to expect. So I'm just going in as I would for Seeker, and if you can sort of go after Seeker, then it's all very quiet, and you're trying to be very, very mindful of every step you make, and then just popped my head around a corner and just seen his tail take off. I didn't see a head or anything on him, but definitely a stag because he was roaring. But all I seen was his back end, and jumped over the little creek, and off he went. Like no chance of even pulling the gun up to even attempt to shoot him. But still exciting, we had only been in there had lunch and gone straight down there, and I'd seen my first stag within, that was probably only within half an hour of leaving from lunch. So
So we're underway, and full of hope for the next day, because by this stage it was getting to that 5 o'clock type time.
We would have been walking back up. I think we stopped hunting because it was starting to get dark, so they were still roaring, and we still could have gone after them, but
there's another couple down there, and we thought, we need some light to be able to make a safe shot. So we just bailed out up to camp, and got stuck into some dinner, which no doubt went down very well.
Indeed.
It'd been a big day.
Backcountry.
Been a huge day, but man, if we knew what we know now about what was coming to us the next day, or even actually once we got to sleep.
Yes.
Right?
Well, how much sleep there was, I don't know.
It was, wow. I mean,
It just lit up.
But it was time to go to sleep.
Yep.
And that's what we tried to do. So, day 2. Now, day 2 probably didn't start as most would expect, with maybe a 5-6 a.m. start. Actually started probably at midnight.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Right? As soon as actually Saturday kicked in to action. So, yeah, we were woken up to some sounds that most hunters will appreciate and be absolutely pumped about when they hear these sounds when they're trying to sleep.
Always the way.
So, boy, did we hear some roaring that night, and I think there was probably multiple stags.
Oh, yeah.
There was a, yeah.
But one in particular, but that was a lot closer, but yeah.
Yeah, but we were definitely tuned into one in particular that we could hear pretty cly.
Yeah, he was only, 200 away maybe?
Yeah.
At the most, 150. Yeah.
He, we could hear him really well, but he wasn't moving, so we knew that he wasn't on the ridge that we were on, and we knew that he was below us.
Yeah.
So
directly below too, not even like on an air, like he was straight below us.
Yeah, so his roars were just coming, projecting straight up to us, which was amazing. So we had a great night, and it certainly got us pumped for the next day, and we had a plan for what stag we were going to go after.
Yeah,
right?
made that an easy decision.
I mean, that was pretty obvious. So,
and he wasn't one of the ones that we went to after on day 1. So
no,
he's
the other side.
He's down the other side.
Yeah. So completely new territory. We hadn't heard any roars from that side at all that I remember.
No, we didn't hear, because when he started up at midnight, I was like, oh, that's a new one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember. We would have set our alarm. I don't remember what time exactly we got up. It must have been 6.
Yeah. I don't think we needed an alarm. I think we were lying there waiting for light, because we were eager.
Yeah, so we must have slept at some stage of the night, but we got up, sort of launched ourselves out, and started to rip into a bit of breakfast, and we were still hearing the stag, going for it. So yeah, we were gonna definitely be paying him a visit if we could, but then something unexpected happened.
Very unexpected.
So by this stage, it was probably just starting to get light.
So what are we, 6:30? Yeah, we were only out of the tent for, only felt like sort of 10 or 15 minutes. No, in fact, I don't think we had breakfast.
No, we were trying to get breakfast.
Yeah, we were trying to organise breakfast.
We hadn't got as far as getting the water on, or we were organising it.
Yeah.
And then, what's your memory of what you heard first, Cody?
A stag that wasn't the stag roaring at us all night, coming from a different direction, and same again, not from the ones we heard the day before. It may have been them. He might have just come up the ridge line.
Yeah, possibly.
And he was close, and I just remember Troy looking at me going, Cody, get ready, he is close, he's coming into us. And have we roared at all?
No, so we heard him, and we're like, yeah, man, he is close. But then we heard him a second time, and it's like, he is closer.
Yeah.
And we hadn't made a sound.
We're still standing underneath our little setup in the tent there, and
So we're like, okay, we need to get ready, because I don't think it's going to take much convincing to get this guy to come in, or he's just going to carry on how he's...
he must have been coming to the other. He must have been going to the other stag, rather than us.
True.
He might not have even had a clue we were there.
Yeah. We were. I mean, he was coming from slightly higher. We were in like almost a little bit of a saddle from memory where our camp was. So we weren't at the very highest point, but he was on it.
Yeah.
Or he'd definitely come up to it, and that's when we heard him. So yeah, right. We got our positions, and I thought I had got Cody in the prime position on the right hand side, and I took the left, and we couldn't see each other, but we were in line with each other, so we were at a safe shooting position. And got ourselves all set. I heard Cody go quiet, and I just gave off a little it wasn't like a full on major roar, just enough to kind of get his interest. And what happened next, Cody?
Well, all I remember is, I don't know if you said anything, because Troy obviously wanted me to take him.
Oh, that was the plan, sorry. Yeah.
So you were sort of waiting for me, and I seen or heard the trees start moving. So I,
Yeah.
you know, within 50 meters type thing, and I'm like, okay,
Very quickly.
get
too,
ready,
eh?
get ready. Yeah, he's right here, and then
Yeah.
basically just bang. And it was, I can't remember if you sort of said to me, oh, you might have said, can you see him? And I said no, like I couldn't see him. I could see sort of in the vicinity of where he was, but then you got the clear shot, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I heard him coming, so I knew that, he was coming in all right, and at speed. So I heard it, and then I saw him, for the first time, and I'm just, just waiting, like, come on, Cody. And maybe I did just whisper, but I think we were probably too far away. So I was probably just in my mind going, come on, Cody, like, he's yours, not knowing that you couldn't see him at all.
Yeah.
You could hear him.
Yeah.
And I waited for as long as I thought I could before he might have got our wind. And at this stage, he was probably, 40?
If that.
Like maybe 30?
30, 40 meters.
And he was going to come in so close that he'd just get our ambient scent, like, even though the wind was good.
And we've got a video to chuck up that will show how close he was to the tent.
It was crazy. So I'm waiting for that, come on, Cody, waiting for that bang, waiting, and in the end I was like, no, I've got to take him. Boom.
Yeah.
And he was no, like, right home about type trophy, but to us, we were always going to take, a good mature stag.
Yeah, like we didn't know what was coming. We obviously heard that there was stags roaring and it was all go, but for all we knew, that might have been our only opportunity.
Exactly.
You can always go in and stuff it up. So
one thing about me and the people that come with me, we are meat hunters in the first instance. Like you're never going to come across one of our carcasses with just the head gone and maybe the back steaks. Like the meat is actually really important to us. And Cody himself, he's not a huge fan, and a lot of people, don't do it primarily for that, but I get a lot of enjoyment about even just giving it away to people that are never going to get to have wild venison, So that's always in my mind first, as well as knowing that the deer numbers are too high, So if you're leaving stags all over the place, it's not going to actually benefit your ability to maybe take a bigger, better stag as well. But also, like, not shooting little spikers as well. Like, there's times you do that, but I think whatever animal that was going to be, we were probably going to take it.
Yeah, and in fairness, I don't think that these animals had ever seen or heard a human before, and I don't know if anyone would ever go in there again.
Yeah.
So that it's not like we're taking some whatever we shot was taking away a lot of other people's opportunity to get these stags, because they were living pretty happily in there without human interaction.
And so he's just a nice little 6-pointer, good mature stag. He wasn't a small animal at all. And he probably would have grown into something better, but we were stoked. The antlers didn't matter at that point. It was just the experience, what we had together. Like I said to Cody, this doesn't happen a lot. Like when you get those red hot days, but when you got work in between and got family commitments and everything else, you can't just hunt right through April.
No.
So, sometimes you need a bit of luck for the timing to be right, and this stag did what most stag hunters dream of, and he came bolting in. So, a bit of celebration, bit of yahooing and whatnot from us.
Trying to be a bit sensible, because obviously that was all exciting, but then I said to Troy, hey Troy, old mate below us is still roaring. And
That's
Troy
right.
was like, and then he's like, oh, true. And then I said, he's actually moved. And at that point, I don't know if you realised he had moved. And I said to you, his roar was down directly below us. Now he's over to our, to our left at that point. And he's like, oh, so Troy said he'll be coming up. So now we're going to get ready for him.
Yeah, and I think he probably just heard a bit of the roar action from us roaring and the stag, and
wouldn't have known what a gunshot was.
No,
he's probably never heard one before.
So I think we walked back to camp, and it took a while, like, was it 30 seconds or?
Yeah. It was a full-on 30 seconds. That.
And that's not exaggerating. Like, it was so close. Like, we didn't move from camp.
No.
To our shooting position. So we basically shot him straight at camp. So yeah, we I think we sat down for a couple of minutes, you know.
You literally shot him underneath our cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we sat down, had a small breather, and then kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? Should we go after this other stag? And we're like, hell yeah, he kept us up all night. So,
And he was coming in.
he was coming.
Yeah.
So I think I said to you at that point, right, Cody?
Walk towards him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because where we were, it was probably unlikely he would come all the way to us from where he was.
Wow.
Because of where he had to come through.
Turns out he was, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but he had to come through that dip.
Yeah.
For him to come through that and then us see him,
Yep.
it was a bit unlikely. So I said to Cody, look, I think you need to go through that little dip, little face down from camp and get onto that other spur. And then that's probably the spot to just wait for him there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so
You raced off.
raced off, and yeah, we're only talking 100 odd meters, so I didn't walk.
It
very
wasn't
far.
a long way.
No, I didn't, and I heard him. He was roaring all the way up, and
Yeah.
I can't. The only thing I can't remember is I don't believe we were doing any roaring, or did you stay back at camp and roar at him?
No, I think I waited for you.
Yeah, so
I waited for you to, maybe if I could hear like noise, you'd stop moving.
yeah. So he was roaring, so we didn't really need to, and I just went down and heard him getting closer, and then to the point I could hear the trees rustling and about, and I'm like, oh yep, he's very close, and there was a little bit of a sort of knob that I was on one side of, and he was coming up the other, so I was like, I'll wait till he just comes up, pokes his head up, and that's exactly what he did. But he would have been within 20 or 30 meters of me, and I was like, whoa, and all I could see was eyeballs and the antlers. And so I just whipped the gun up and shot him, and I actually thought I missed him because he was not quite at the peak and I was on the other side, so when I shot he just disappeared, and I was like, oh no, I've missed him. So went for a little walk, for the 20-meter walk, and yeah, sure enough, no, I hadn't missed him. He was lying there and he hadn't moved at all because he was shot straight between the two eyes. So that was handy. Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that for a shot, does it? And you didn't have a choice, because didn't his eyes, like, you almost saw them like dilate?
Yeah.
That's how close he was.
Yeah.
And
So-
if you look carefully here, these antlers aren't actually in one piece anymore.
No.
These lower ones you can see. So tell us about that, Cody.
Oh, wow, that was, the 308 that went straight through his,
Basically in here.
Split the head open, yeah.
Somewhere, eh?
Yeah.
Would have been, yeah.
Yeah, and just split it. So when I was doing the heads, it
Unfortunately.
came off in two pieces, which is a bit of a shame because he was my first ever reed stag. So
Beautiful 7-pointer, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a bit guttering that I was like, but I'm sure I can get him fixed up. There'll be people that can do that for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, nice big animal, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Like
Yeah.
big stag.
yeah,
And for those bush stags, really good condition. Like
Yeah.
they were not small
No.
stags at all. So we were 7:45 and 2 stags down.
yes,
Remember? Crazy.
yeah. So within an hour they were both on the ground. So
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of starts to a hunt like that, you couldn't ask for better.
no.
We had a stag each.
And that's when you said, so that's pretty much the hunting done, because that we can't carry any more meat out
Yeah.
than that. So
Yeah.
we're not leaving any meat behind, and it might just be, it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's sort of like, wow, we're sort of done for the shooting
Yeah.
side of it. We might be able to record some stuff, and
Because we're not big guys, so to carry a stag out each is actually a pretty good effort anyway.
and a very, very long way.
Yeah, and a long way out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we didn't want to take an animal that we just go, oh well, we'll just leave the back legs, the hind legs there. Who cares? Just not about that. Otherwise, you just go out and just be a killer rather than a hunter. So, yeah, we wanted to get out as much as we could.
Yeah.
So yeah, we processed both animals, gutted them both, took some good photos, and then thought, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So
That's when we had breakfast.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we finally had breakfast.
Yeah.
then. Yeah. And by this stage, I think things had settled down a little bit on the roaring front.
Yep.
But we decided that we'd just sort of go towards where we'd heard your stag initially,
Yep.
and then sort of do a bit of a circuit up and around some new country. So off we went.
Yeah, and that's when it sort of calmed right down, and it sort of went quite
Yeah.
quiet. It was miserable. It's been raining the entire time. Not heavy rain, but it was
Just enough to be damp.
Yeah,
eh?
everything was saturated, and then from there, it was not until sort of lunchtime, and there was no real roaring, and we sort of heard the distant roars and stuff, but
It was a bit disappointing, wasn't it, after the action pack?
started sort of thinking it was going to be all go, and it was going to be like that the whole time, and and then it just went quite quiet, really.
It did. We saw lots of sign though, like it was like, man, there's stags around here.
Yeah.
But just, you do all the tricks, you listen, you roar, you wait. But we didn't even spook anything.
Nah.
So anyway, we marched on, and as you do, thought, oh well, we'll carry on, and in the afternoon they might start up again, and got into a place a little bit further back that we hadn't been able to listen into or anything yet. And by this stage, heck, it would have been 4 o'clock-ish?
Probably
Around?
three, because we're from the part we're going to start talking about. We had to walk up for another hour, probably after that, and then
around that 3, getting later in the afternoon, and we got into a spot that was probably the furthest spot we'd hunted that day, from camp, and we heard another stag going.
Yeah, well, you went off to sort of listen over there, and I was listening more on the ridge we were going to walk up, and I heard the stag.
That's right, you heard him first.
And it was sort of, like I say, I hadn't been after the reds before, but there was just something different about this one. I said to Troy, this one just sounds different. Like by this time we had probably at least heard 10, 15 other stags over the
all around the place, distant
roars, and then the close roars,
and then the close ones.
The two we shot were nice sounding roars, but this one just sounded more grunty. And I said to Troy, I heard him a couple of times, and then I thought he could hear him too, and so Troy came back. We were sort of separated for 20 minutes or whatever, and comes back, and I said, did you hear that other roar? And Troy said no, and I said, well, we're going after this one, he sounds like a beauty. And then sure enough, he roared again, and that's where you heard him. So we're like, okay, that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah. Did we drop down a little bit into that sort of saddle at that point? Or
we were down low. We were down low when I heard him, because he was, and he was, he would have been a good 400 or 500 metres from us, I would say, at that point, because it was a very distant roar. Yeah. So we're like, oh well, we better start walking up.
And then we got down to be on his level, so he was on the opposite side of the creek we were looking into, and we were about the same elevation. So we made the call that we'd have a go at him, but we'd only take him if he was a good stag. Like we weren't going to go after a young stag or something, but like Cody said, that had that feel about it.
And by now we started sort of talking about the light. It's, we're now getting closer to that 4 o'clock. I'd say it's getting on 4 o'clock by now.
Yeah. So we probably had another hour of light at the most type thing, eh?
And then Troy said to me, you know what's happening here, don't you, Cody? I was like, what's that? And he's like, you're going in for him. I was like, no, you go do him. You do it. This is a bit harder, this one, and he sounds like a good one, and I don't want to stuff it up. So Troy being Troy, he's never ever about himself on the bush. It's always about the people he's with, and he would lose the biggest stag of his life to let someone else have a turn and get it first, and he would probably enjoy that even more. So I was like, he wasn't taking no for an answer. And
I think I came up with an excuse like, well, I've started roaring him, so I have to keep roaring him.
Yeah. So he knows my roar now, so if you start wrong, he'll think, what's that?
Yeah, he'll get confused, and he'll shut up.
So then that was interesting, because I went, oh well, I'm going to have to go. So I took off and started going down. I had to go down from where Troy and I were into a creek, and then
and
back
it was
up.
crap.
And it was steep, and it was horrible, and I was not really that keen to do it by myself. So I start going down, and then I get quite low, and then I can't hear him roaring anymore, and I'm like, oh well, I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back up to Troy now. So I sort of turn around and start going back, but I knew he'd be disappointed because if he was roaring at me, he'd be like, what are you doing back here?
Could you hear me roaring still?
Yeah, I could hear you roaring and I couldn't hear him. So I was like, he stopped. So, I'll go back up to Troy.
Because he was doing the full on.
Yeah, the real anger,
Yeah, he was worked up.
Yeah. So, and then just as I was, I don't know why, but I was quite happy to just, I'll just go back to Troy. Let's go back to the tent now. We'll call it a day. And then I heard him roar, and I was like, oh, okay, if I go back now, Troy's going to slap me. So, and I'd probably been gone for half an hour at this point.
Yeah,
so Troy probably thought he was getting ready to hear a bang.
Yeah.
Like, where there's no communication. He didn't know where I was. And I was probably only a 2-minute walk below him at this point because I was apprehensive about blowing off down into the creek. So once I heard that last roar, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go. So I went and it just got steep and I was sliding down and grabbing onto trees and it was horrible. And then got over the creek and climbing the other side was much nicer. Where he was, I can see why he was on that ridge. It was beautiful. So the walk up to him was lovely, and I heard him roaring the whole time, and I heard you roaring back at him, and that was very exciting. And then walking up and just seeing him walking down, he must have heard me because he was walking away from Troy and sort of across more towards me, and then I sort of got ready to shoot. He probably was 100 metres away or so, and pulled up the gun, and he hadn't seen me. Pulled up the gun and went to pull the trigger, and of course the good old safety was on. I was like, oh, so click. I was like, I've just stuffed it. Oh my goodness, I've stuffed it.
Had you seen his antlers at this? Like, did you know he was a good stag?
No.
Okay. So you were ready to shoot, but you weren't. Wow.
Yeah, like I seen he was a big bodied. He was a big bodied animal. I couldn't really see how many points he had or anything. And but I was like, whoa, that's a big animal. And then obviously when that hit the safety click, so I was like, oh no. And he just sort of kept walking, and then Troy kept roaring, which is brilliant because he carried on walking, didn't know the whole safety thing happened because he didn't even look down or anything. And then he actually turned around and started walking back towards Troy. So I was like, oh, you beauty. So
did he roar at all when you were right there?
No.
Okay.
So he didn't roar when I was in the very close.
Bummer, that would have been good.
Oh yeah, that would have been amazing. So he turned around, and then I was like very nervous and started getting the shakes on now, and he's right behind a bush. Couldn't see him for like 2 minutes behind, and by now it would have been probably a good hour that I'd been gone from you. So you would have been thinking, what is he doing?
I thought it must. Yeah, I couldn't work it out.
So because
you either hear the roaring stops, or you hear a bang, and neither had happened. He was still really responsive to the roars. I'm like, what is he doing?
What's Cody up to? So, and then he finally walked that extra 2 meters towards Troy, and then I seen the antlers, seen he was a big stag, and boom, shot, and he just tumbled down towards me. And oh my goodness. I'm shaking. I got him. That was a mission. He's a tank. That was a very, very exciting moment because we talked about these ones being quite big animals, but this one was I wouldn't say twice the size animal, but he was much bigger. He was much bigger.
And you let off quite a yahoo. Like, I could hear you. That's how loud it was. So I yelled out to Troy. So we were still talking, like by then we could talk to each other because obviously we weren't going to scare him away. So I was saying, get over here, Troy, he's a goodie. And it was getting on. It would have been 5. Yeah, I think I got to you and it was almost dark. Like it was
5 o'clock.
Pretty much bang on dark. At that point. And I just couldn't believe it. To get a head like this, those that are hunted the Whirinaki, they're normally your pretty typical bush stags, which is, nothing to be ashamed of. But once you're getting into these sort of size, and it's just, it was very impressive. Because in those bush blocks, they don't have the feed like they do in some of these other places like you have in the South Island and East Coast and stuff. So to get a true bush stag of that sort of calibre, yeah, I was blown away.
If only he had those 2 extra points on the other side.
Yeah, if he was symmetrical,
Yeah,
he would have been a beautiful 12.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah, awesome stag.
yeah,
You know, and the memory of, to me, the memory of the hunt and having these antlers will be far more than how many points he's got. You know.
yeah.
Hey.
Because that was an epic day. Because we're still talking the same day as the previous two.
We're still on the same day.
Yeah. So
when did we realise we'd made a pretty big stuff up, Cody?
when I got over, well, I didn't get over the excitement and still excited about the moment now, but when I seen the size of this animal lying on the ground and I went, oh crap, we've got 2 stags back at the tent that we're carrying all the meat out of, and now we've got this boy who is very much bigger than the other 2. It's like, what are we going to do? So yeah,
at that point we basically we could only take as much meat as we could, which we did, you know. But we knew what our limit could be, and we even then were still exceeding that. But we also then at this point we realised that we'd also forgotten something, which is pretty embarrassing.
Yes.
And no hunter should ever do this. But what did we do, Cody?
Well, we did the good old, after breakfast we'll just go for a afternoon or a mid-morning walk and come back for lunch and then make a plan from there. So this wasn't, you know, we weren't meant to be out
till dark.
That was never the intention. So
but stupidly we weren't prepared and we did not have our headlamps. So we're on Cody's stag, we've got meat to carry out, we've got a head to carry out, we have no way of lighting the bush because there was no track, and we didn't know exactly where camp was if, say, our phones went flat because we're using them for torches as well. So we just basically put ourselves in top gear and just moved it. And by the end we were definitely under our phone torches.
Oh, it was dark before we started walking.
So we were fully relying on them, and I mean there was no issues. We were fine in the end, but it could have gone wrong.
What, took us an hour maybe? I can't really remember. Probably an hour back to the tent.
But I remember thinking, you know, I knew roughly the direction of camp and obviously where we'd set it up, but we came from a spot we hadn't walked before, and I just remember thinking, boy, if I was fully relying on my phone. We didn't have a GPS. They had the PLB.
Yes.
You know, but for safety, but. Yeah, we were fully relying on using a phone's mapping. The NZ
Did we have topo?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
To know where our camp spot was on the topo. So, but we made it. We made it back to camp.
And I was never worried at getting back to. I never thought, oh crap, we're not going to get back to the tent. I never had that sort of. It was more just the pain of the dark. You're walking through holding a bloody phone torch, which is hopeless and
not helping a lot, was it? And it was pretty crappy, dense crown fern and
right up the top of the ridge,
all sorts of crap we were walking through. So I mean, I don't remember that night. We must have felt pretty good. We must have had a big feed. And then we must have gotten to bed pretty quickly.
And there's no issues sleeping that night, I can tell you.
So that was the end of day 2.
Yes.
Only day 2 at this stage.
Yes. And so we were here. It was Saturday. So that was Saturday, and
Saturday was done.
Planning on coming out Sunday to work on Monday. I'm now scared for my life.
That's right. That was pretty tough to hear.
And we physically couldn't set a tent up where we were on not vertical but near on vertical.
Because when you said that, I didn't, in my mind, I hadn't dismissed it or disagreed with it. Because I actually felt the same. But I knew that I had to pull you back up.
You had to. You were the reason to keep us going and get us to safety. You knew that
where we were was not safe. That is the end of part 1
of this epic journey. And as you just heard from that little preview, we go from quite a high into a massive low, and you won't believe what happens on the way out. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for part 2, due out soon.